Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Clutch, Captain Clutch here, back with a brand new video, man. And yeah, I wanted to talk about something that happened last year. Okay, basically, this is more so about me. So basically, last year, April 18, 4/18, 2025. You know, I had work that day. I had a job or whatever, and I worked it for like 2 years. I want to say, because I started it in like October of 2023. So it was like October 30th, 2023, 31st, 2023. I started it. I want to say. Basically, I worked there since then, and I worked a year straight with no days off too. So and whenever there was like overtime, I would be the type of employee that would, take the overtime or cover. Sometimes I didn't want to cover, and I still covered because, I was a pretty good employee. And yeah, you know what I mean? I definitely put the work in and day out. But yeah, and sometimes I think back and, I just like think like, wow, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I used to work a job. I did kind of like it at the time, but then they started adding like policies and like a bunch of stuff that I just didn't like. And I also feel like I didn't get super respected by everyone at the job. Maybe I respected by some people, but not by everyone. I feel like in life you're always gonna have people that just don't like you, or they just want to see you fail, fall, broke, whatever it is. It's just how it is. But yeah, I used to work there. It was a good job. No, I mean it was a decent job. It wasn't a good job. But yeah, the crazy thing is, I used to work there, and it was cool or whatnot. I mean, a job is a job at the end of the day. I got paid $17 an hour. I don't know if people consider that good or bad. I want to say that's pretty. I want to say that's like pretty average, maybe a little bit above minimum wage, but still not the best job in the world. Because I've worked at Wells Fargo, credit card like customer service or whatever, and I got paid like 20 or 20 plus there. So I want to say that was like probably my better jobs. Um, but yeah, I didn't work jobs a very long time. I worked my first job, and it kind of pisses me off when people say like, "Oh, you've never worked a job in your life. You're lying." Like, why would I lie about working a job? Like, what is that even a flex? I feel like some people flex about working at a bank, but is that even a flex? Like, I don't consider that a flex. I've never flexed about working at Wells Fargo before. You know, like this is my first ever job, my first ever call center job right here. If that's not proof to you, then I don't know what is. I started that job in 2020, and yeah, pretty much I started that job in 2020. I want to say January 29th, February 1st. I want to say something like that. But yeah, so last year, April 18, I worked this job, and that day when I was going to work, it was in the morning, and when I was getting ready that morning, it was like 6 a.m., 6:50, something like that. I used to wake up at 6, have to be at work at 7:30 a.m. And the schedule for this job wasn't like every day you're going in at 7 and you're leaving at 3. It was like every day, it can change. One day you'll go in at 7:30, and the next day you might leave at 3:30. And yeah, same day you go in 7:30, leave at 3:30, and the next day you might go in at 10 a.m. and then leave at 6 p.m. And then the day after you might come, the next 2 or 3 days you might come in at 1 p.m. and then leave at 9 p.m. Yeah, so 1 to 9 p.m. or whatever. And sometimes the 1 to 9 was chill or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's just the fact that staying at night is kind of like, you don't want to stay at a job at night, especially with people that aren't your friends or whatever. So sometimes I would be like, hey, I want to work with this person, but it wouldn't be like that. I wouldn't have it my way, because obviously a job is a job. You can't choose that stuff. But yeah. Yeah, something that day when I was getting ready, I don't know why, something was just kind of stopping me. Like, I was trying to get ready, and something was stopping me. I couldn't get ready. Like, I couldn't get ready to go to work. It might sound weird, but yeah, like I didn't really like I like didn't like brush my teeth. Like I was just stuck. I was just stuck there thinking because I didn't want to keep working there. You know, I was kind of a bit miserable. I wanted to find like a different job or something. I don't know what it was. You know, maybe I just didn't want to get crap that day. I didn't want anyone to talk to me that day. Maybe I just didn't want to like get in trouble from calling out like the week before or whatever it was. You know, it could have been, maybe that could have played a role. But overall I just didn't want to work there. You know, so I felt stopped when I was getting ready that morning. But I ended up pulling up to work because I had like a key, you know, for the job or whatever. So I pulled up to work and I see an employee there. He pulled up to work, so I handed him my key and was like, "Hey, like, I'm done working, basically." You know, I was like, "Yeah, like, just hand this to the manager, or whatever. I don't, you know what I mean? That's all I said. I was hand this to the manager. I don't know why I did it. You know what I mean? I don't know why. You know, I guess I just didn't want to work there. Maybe I was mad. Maybe I was mad about like my situation or something. Maybe I was like in debt or whatever it was. I don't know. But yeah, I just did that, and then I didn't show up to work. I showed up, handed the key, and left. You know, and ever since then, you know, that day, I basically just went to the mall. I went to the mall, walked around a little bit, sat on my phone, and was just kind of like, damn, this is life. You know what I mean? See, this is 10 a.m., and I showed up and was at the mall just like looking around and like being like, damn, I really escaped the Matrix or whatever, you know? Just over here, like, just messing around. And then I got Panda Express at 12 p.m., you know, because obviously I was at the mall. I was a bit hungry. And I seen this piece of jewelry that I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, you know? And I sent a picture to my friend, you know, not thinking much about it. And my friend basically was like, oh, yeah, bro, cop it, you know? So I was like, I guess. He was like, cop it. So that day I showed up to the mall. I copped this white gold diamond bracelet, you know. It's pretty sick, you know. Pretty sick. I copped this. And yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of reminds me of that day, I guess, you know, which is kind of crazy, you know. And I kind of hid it just to like, you know, I didn't really want my mom to see because obviously I have a strict mom, you know. So if my mom's seen this piece of jewelry, she'd be like, where the hell did you get that? And she would probably be like, oh, you weren't at work today or whatever. And at the time, you know, I was basically trying to act like I was still working, you know. I was trying to like fake it. So kind of like when I used to ditch school, because I used to ditch school as a kid in like high school sometimes, or like in grade school I used to ditch a lot. Just because like some days I just didn't feel like going, or you know, I felt too sleepy or whatever it was, you know. So sometimes I would you know, like ditch. But yeah, so I basically did that and then showed up home. And so when I show up, it's like 3 p.m. and you know, everyone believes it. And then this goes on for like another few days, few weeks or whatever. I basically keep showing up same time around 3 p.m. and I act like I'm working. Like I literally just drive to my friend's house and be like, "Hey, are you down to hang out today?" And then the next day, text another friend like, "Yo, you down to hang out? You down to do this?" And then like the next day, I went to go to my friend's house and like we recorded music. And then I hung out with him all day until like 9 p.m. I act like I worked at 1 to 9 just to sleep longer. And then I'm just sitting there at his house playing zombies, and like we made a song that day. And then the next day I hang out with another friend and we just like eat pizza and I'm chilling at his house. And it felt so weird, but then like, you know, I still show up and act like I'm like working, you know, because obviously that's like the shifts I used to do. And it's kind of cool because like the shifts were so random that I could just get away and lie and be like, oh, I work at this time. And my mom would still believe it, you know. But eventually, like a few weeks later, you know, I kind of just get into an argument, or my mom gets into an argument, and then I'm basically just like, I don't. She's like, like go to work or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's like almost time for me to go to work or whatever. It's like almost 1 p.m. or whatever. And I tell her, I'm like, I don't even have a fucking job. Like, I don't even work. You know what I mean? And then she's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't work? And then I'm like, I've been lying to you this whole time for the past few weeks. I haven't been going to work. You know what I mean? And this is like, boom. Like, your whole life is a lie type of thing, you know? And from that point on, dude, she's pissed. She's pissed. She's like, we're going to lose the house. We're going to lose this. Like, I can't believe you lied to me. She's like super disappointed. She's like you got to go find another job or whatever. You know, she's like stressing bad because, you know how moms are, you know? But yeah, man, it was pretty crazy. And then my brother finds out too, because obviously I didn't tell him until then. He finds out too, and he's just like, wow, like, damn. He's like, now she's even more mad because I don't even have a job. My brother didn't have a job, and he was like looking for a job at the time too. And my little brother's in college, so he didn't have a job to begin with, or he was working part time or whatever. But then, yeah, you know, I just felt like, damn. But keep in mind, you know, obviously I'm not like paycheck to paycheck, or, you know, I had like a bunch of money in my you know, like stock or whatever it was, you know. So yeah, I'm thinking, you know, I'm chilling. I got like you know what I mean? And my mom's just like, you need to find a job basically. And I'm just applying at jobs, okay? I'm applying at jobs. And I've worked, obviously that first call center I worked was in 2020. I worked another job in 2021. It was called like Consumer Cellular, and then I worked there for like a month or two. I was the type of person that could never like last at a job. You know, this last job, I stayed at it for like 2 years, which is probably my longest job I've stayed at. You know, and then after that, I went to Wells Fargo, and then after that, I went to like another call center. Or like after the first call center, I went to another call center, worked there for like 2 days. It was like super far by the airport, so I kind of like had no car, so I pretty much lost it. And then it was just like a huge traffic thing, and I had to ask my mom for rides every day, you know. And then after that, so pretty much most of my jobs been like 15 an hour, 12 an hour, 17 an hour, 18 an hour, and 20 an hour, I want to say. And then probably like minimum wage, 14 an hour or something like that. So then I work at Wells Fargo for like 6 months, crash my BRZ, and then I leave my job because I don't want to keep working there when I lost my BRZ. You know, it was too much mental stress for me. I worked there for like another 3 weeks and quit. And then from that point on, I looked for like another job, and I work at another call center. I want to say called like Leslie's Pool Supplies or whatever, you know. And then I only worked there for like probably like a few days. I want to say maybe a week. I want to say it was like a few days, and that was probably like in 2023, February, April, something like that. Yeah. So then after that, I go to another job, and I'm like looking for jobs after that call center, and then I really can't find the job. So then I'm like, you know, no job's gonna get me. I need money at this point, you know. So then, and this is back to 2023. I'm not talking about, you know, after this job I quit. I'm applying at valet, and then valet gets me, and I'm working valet in the hot sun in the summertime of 2023, and I'm probably making like 14 an hour, and I'm probably working like 6 or 7 hour shifts in the sun, you know. And it just really sucked, you know, because eventually it was like, hey, you got to go to this other hotel, and in this other hotel, and then you got to go to and you got to go to a different hotel, and it's like, dude, there was like 200 cars there, like no joke. And I showed up one day, and I didn't know where to park, so I like literally just left. I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know where to park. I don't know what to do, you know. But if they kept me at the one residence to do, because it was like a nice residence where you bring the cars up from the garage, I probably would have stayed there, you know. But the weather was super hot. It was summertime, like 110, 13 degrees a day, no AC, standing in the hot sun, just valeting cars, bro. So like, yeah, I was out there sweating my ass off, you know. But yeah, man, I met some people there, a few friends. All my friends were at the residence. Once I moved to the hotel, the higher ups were kind of taking advantage of me, making me run back and forth to like a across the street and up all the way to like a huge parking lot and down the stairs and then back to take another car. It was super tiring. I didn't even have a lunch. I didn't even know time. I didn't even know how to make time to eat. It was really bad. But yeah, I eventually quit that valet job too because I showed up and then didn't know where to park, and it was like tons of back-to-back cars. And I have to work with kids that I don't even know. It's like I have to meet new people every time, you know. And keep in mind, I'm still new. I'm not like super experienced with valet. I'm a newcomer, so like they're just sending me to like random places, you know. And I'm working in downtown, so it's super back to back and whatever. And the first day at that job, for some reason, my manager made me walk to another building to get my employee shirt. I walked there, didn't get a shirt, and I had to walk back. Like, the person there was like, oh, you have to walk back and get it from here. So my manager made me walk somewhere that was like a 30-minute walk, and it walked back in downtown where it was like 115 degrees in like midday, noon, like 1 or 2 p.m., 12 p.m. or something like that. And then come to find out, I had to get it from the original spot I was already at. So I don't know why the hell my manager made me do that. It makes no sense. But yeah. So I left that job. And now it's 2023, and my paychecks are probably like $400 every 2 weeks, So at this point, I'm barely making enough to live, Then eventually I'm pretty much jobless, And in 2021, after like the call centers and stuff, I was just, after 2020, I mean, during COVID time, I had another call center that I worked. It was like a work from home. I worked there for like 1 or 2 days. No, I worked there for like a week and then quit because I didn't understand like how to make the calls and whatnot. And it was just like weird, So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do Uber Eats. And I need something Altima at the time, and I just sold it for like $1,400 because they had a bunch of problems, and I bought it for $3,500. But yeah, after the valet thing, I just pretty much did nothing. I was just broke. Pretty much jobless until because I was in summertime 2023 until I got this job, which is 2023 October, and I had another call center trying to hire me. And at that point, I was like telling this job, like, hey, like I have another call center trying to hire me. So if you guys don't hire me, I'm gonna go there, okay? And they're paying $1 more, and it was like another work from home type of thing. And because I said that, they ended up hiring me, and I worked there. I worked there for like 2 years, I want to say. For 2 years, I worked there, and then this comes down to present day, 2025, where I ended up quitting April 18. Where my mom's like panicking about like, money and whatnot because I don't have a job. And then from that point on, I swear to God, I'm probably applying to like 200 jobs a day, maybe 50 jobs, 20 jobs a day, whatever it is, right? And I'm like so hopeless, I'm pretty sure these jobs don't like the fact that my work experience is so short. Like my work experience is like, like 1 or 2 days, 2 months, 6 months. Like it's so short, I had to like literally lie like, oh, I worked at this job for a year. I worked this job for 2 years, because the longest job I had was probably 8 months, 6 months from 2020. Cause that's when I had my first job, before that I was doing door-to-door sales as a teenager, but that wasn't like a real job. It was more like a side hustle that I had like a manager that would pick me up in a van that I worked for. I used to sell candy. But yeah, so I'm pretty much jobless. I quit the job or whatever. And then I'm applying at jobs. It's probably like June. It's like May. My friend's like, oh, I'm going to refer you to my job. I apply at the job. He refers me. And the job pays like $23.20 an hour or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, it pays more than my last job. Sweet, And the job hasn't even got me yet. And basically, the job hasn't got me. And they get back to me and they're like, hey, we're not going through with you. So my friend that referred me the job, come to find out, I'm not getting the job that he referred me to. So I'm like, well, that fucking sucks, you know? That was like my whole main plan. Like, I was gonna go to my friend's job. So I'm like, I have to take matter into my own hands. And keep in mind, I'm still posting YouTube videos or streaming here and there, so it's whatever. And then I want to say like May or June comes around, and I'm still live streaming on YouTube. I'm doing sleep streams, and in June, I'm like live streaming and whatnot, still posting videos in here and there. And this whole time I'm just still doing YouTube, because obviously YouTube's like the only thing that I'm like really getting money from, and then also my music money. So I'm just at this point, it's like May or June, and I'm like promoting my music. Like, I'm like paying money for my music to get heard more. So like my music's getting heard more in like Indonesia and whatnot. And my plan is like, oh, let me just blow this music up so I can at least make a living off of it or whatever. And surprisingly, my music was actually growing, It was like I almost like doubled in size in music in a matter of like 2 weeks, I probably could have kept going, but it was hard to like manage doing all that, It was hard to like keep promoting it, And some of those promotions were like not super good. It was only like some of them were. So I basically dumped a bunch of money on that. But yeah, I'm applying at jobs and I'm not hearing back from any of these jobs. Like, swear, I'm not getting none of these offers or whatever. So then at this point, I'm just like, what am I going to do, And then June comes around and I have a job that's like, hey, we got you an interview. Like, it's like a call center or customer service type of job. And, lucky enough, I was like, oh, my brother was working Wells Fargo. I can work right next to him because it's like literally down the street from where I used to work, my old job, the credit card or whatever, So I'm like, cool. Hopefully they get me. So I show up. It's like June, and at this point, this iPhone that you see, it fell in the water. So I had an XR, and it had no service on it. So I had to drive there with an XR, like in Maps, and no service. Just downloaded music on Spotify, and the Maps already loaded up, so that way I don't have to reload it, And basically, get to the job, do the interview. A girl was leaving the interview as I was getting there, and while I'm doing that, the guy's like, oh, like, sweet, like, tell me about your job experiences or whatever. And I'm telling him, and then eventually at the end of the interview, they kind of get back to me, and they pretty much get back to me like, tough luck, we decided not to move forward with you. So I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, yeah, I kind of came to expect this, Like, at this point, I'm like, am I freaking cursed? Like, am I just, like, meant to not have a job? Like, you know what I'm saying? At this point, I was applying at jobs that were, like, lower pay, like 14 an hour just to even get a job, because I was trying to find a better job originally, but, like, the better jobs weren't even giving me a chance. So I was like, at this point, let me just get a damn job, Because the job market is so terrible these days, too, because, like, the economy was doing so bad, And I also remember, like, it was just, like, everyone telling me, like, hey, like, don't leave a job unless, like, you already have another job, That's how, like, everyone operates, But me, I'm hard-headed, I'm just hard-headed, I don't want to say I'm stubborn, but I definitely just like to do things my own way, I always feel like I know what I'm doing, and I like to do things my way and just my way only. I like to do what I do, and I feel like I know what I'm doing, So, boo-hoo, they don't get me, and I'm still jobless, Comes around September, and my mindset kind of shifts a little bit. I go to Seahawks game, I'm like, just, I had to affirm the ticket, and I'm just, at this point, I'm thinking, I actually might not be able to get a job, And at this point, I'm applying at like a freaking other job that was just like my last job, like another customer service job. And it's like I have to give people loans at this job. And I'm like, that's kind of what I did at my last job. I'm like, I kind of don't want to do that again, you know? And I go to this job, or I don't go to this job. They're basically telling me, hey, like, we can get you this job or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do it, 18 an hour, whatever. And then they're like, they end up not getting me, and they're like, oh, we got someone else instead. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I apply again like 2 weeks later at a different job that's just like that one, or I called the girl that initially called me for like the interview, and she's like, oh, we have another job that's, it's in a different location, but they pay like $1 or $2 less. And I was like, cool, I'll do anything. Just send it to me, whatever. And then I go to the interview there, and the guy's like, oh, we're not going to get you because most of our customers are Mexican, and, they speak Spanish. So do you speak Spanish? Because, and I'm like, well, I don't speak Spanish, but I could still help them or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, no, we need someone that speaks Spanish. Well, we're probably going to get the other two girls or whoever comes to this interview next because they speak Spanish. And I'm like, okay, well, why'd you guys even make me come to this interview if I don't speak Spanish, Like, come on, like, But yeah, I basically told that guy at the interview, like, hey, I'm doing YouTube right now anyway, like, I make this much money on it, it's just I'm looking for a job or whatever, like this and that. And eventually he also didn't get me because obviously he was looking for someone that speaks Spanish, which I don't speak Spanish. So at this point, I'm like, damn, did I just get discriminated? I don't know. So I'm like, I'm still jobless, and it's like November. And then I'm talking to this girl at the time, and I'm just like, at this point, I might as well just do Uber Eats or something. Like, I don't even think I'm ever gonna get a job in my life. And my brother's like recommending me, like, oh, you should apply at this job. And I'm just like, dude, no job's gonna get me no more, dude. And even if they do get me, like, at this point, I don't even want a job no more. Like, I'm blue balled, I'm blackballed, whatever the hell you want to call it, bro. So at this point, my mindset is I don't want to work a job ever again. That's my mindset. And then, yeah, November, December comes around. And keep in mind, I'm still grinding YouTube this whole time. This whole time I'm just uploading videos. I'm just doing music and whatever. And November, December comes around. I'm just grinding. Like, I'm grinding out. In a black shirt and some faded jeans. Basically, at this point, boom. You know what I mean? Boom. Wrong one. Boom. I'm grinding out, and I'm like blowing up. I'm like blowing up on YouTube. So like, I basically like, I realized like why God wasn't making me get a job, because I initially quit that job in the first place because I didn't want to work there. And I had second thoughts, like, do I want to go back? Like, the problem is I would go back, or sometimes I'm like, oh, I could. Like, that job doesn't bother me much. It's more so like some of the people there that bother me, but like, or the schedule itself, because it doesn't, like, it's kind of inconsistent. I like leaving early, and I was just like, the thing is, I don't want to get stuck there again, so I like the freedom I have now. I have a lot of freedom. So now I literally have a bunch of freedom. Like, if I want to go to Hawaii tomorrow, I could. If I want to go go on a road trip, if I want to take a week off, if I want to take 2 months off, I could, it's sweet. But yeah, basically I started blowing up on YouTube, going absolutely crazy on YouTube, just live streaming, making videos, shorts, doing all that shit, dude. All that, And then yeah, that was pretty much it, here. And then here I am, I started like stacking up. I was basically like, my mindset shifted to, no, this happened for a reason. I quit my job for a reason, and I'm gonna make that count for something. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. At the end of the day, I'm gonna make it happen. I was like, I'm gonna find a way or another. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm gonna get it done, and I got it done. And boom, I went full-time music, full-time like YouTube, and just doing also Uber Eats on the side just for extra money at night. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I don't even work Uber Eats for the money. I'm more so just doing it for the fun. But I don't even really work Uber Eats no more, you know? But yeah, like, it's more so just for the fun. And now I'm just pretty much like, I got no one to hang out with at this point, you know? It's like, all my friends have jobs, kids, and whatnot. And I'm just, you know, having a lot of freedom. Like, it's 11 a.m. right now, and literally don't know what I'm going to do today. Like, it's just up to me at this point. You know what I mean? If I want to go on a smoothie run, I could. If I want to go to the bank, if I want to go to the jeweler, I could. You know, at this point, it's just my decision. And that's how my whole job life pretty much was, you know. And yeah, I just feel like talking about this because, you know, sometimes, you know, it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes it feels like you're depressed, you're stuck, you know. And at some point, you know, I kind of did feel somewhat depressed a little bit, somewhat depressing. But I was like, you know, it's not that bad and it's going to get better, you know. You're always going to see a better day. And now looking back, I'm like, you know, it was actually pretty fun. You know, last year itself was pretty fun, you know. So you just got to cherish every moment, and you got to be grateful, you know. And the thing that I believe in is I believe in if you're grateful, a lot of people say universe, but I say it's God, you know. If you're grateful, God will always give you more. All praise be to God, the Most High, you know what I mean? Let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's only up from here, man. Shout out to all the legends. Shout out to all the supporters. Shout out to all the supporters and all the real ones, all the close friends and whatnot, you know. And fuck fake friends, you know. But yeah, man, here we are. You know, it's crazy. Like, Just Cryptic congratulating me meeting G-Eazy, like a bunch of me going to the Seahawks game, like a bunch of sick stuff happening, you know. And yeah, you know, I just pretty much bubbled up. But yeah, man, shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Drop like on this video, sub up if you guys are new. This was more of my self type of video, you know. But until next time, more clutch. Y'all stay blessed. And I'm not telling anybody out there to quit their job, by the way. This isn't that, you know. I'm basically just saying, even when you don't have a job, you'll still find a way to find another job or make money or do what you need to do, you know, put food on the table. Because I was still working Uber Eats. I was still finding ways to make money. You know, I was still trying my best, you know, even when there was nothing there, even when it seemed like there was nothing there, there was still something there. And that's why, like, you know, I'm like one of those people that like never gives up. Like, if you never give up, you'll never lose, you'll never quit. You know, if you never quit, you'll never lose. And if you never lose, you'll win, you know. Eventually, if you keep losing, you'll win, you know. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, man, now, yeah, we paid. Yeah, we paid.